This is 100 watts and a wire.
Anyway, I do the Tickety Talk videos, and then each week I try to do something every day and just talk about whatever pops into my mind, that kind of thing. And so I asked the people, I'm like, what do you want to talk about? And you have a question, you have a topic suggestion, that kind of thing, and just to engage the people, because that's what it's really about. And we did. We got something, and we put it right into action. So from TikTok, a request from, I don't know his real name, but it's Mawie Belt, Mawie Belt. And this is how we serve the people, Steve. He wanted to know if we could talk about hand and foot push to talk. And so,
okay, not hand and foot in mouth. But
no, not hand and foot in mouth, which I usually do. And I just showed you an example of that about a minute and a half ago, when I put all of my foot, including the boot, right on in there.
This shows a lesson in the hand and foot.
Yeah, it's don't do as we do, kids. Turn away, look away, kids. And I thought, yeah, that's a kind of cool. That is a cool topic, and I remember re-engineering my experience, and Steve can tell you, because he was like, I'm going to send you out this monster foot switch. I got an extra one. And I was like, what? And he was like, you can hook 2 radios up. Do you want to show it to him, Steve? I don't know if it's the same one, but he was like, I'll send this out to you. And I'm like, what is that? Oh my. And that's a commercial product, right?
Yes,
you can buy this off of.
Well, actually, I found this at a Hamfest.
Did you? Okay.
So, yeah, it was.
I think they use them for like under there with the Gordos and the coax, but they use that. It's always under the table.
These weren't under the table; they were on top. So they weren't with the Gordos. But,
just lay them right out there.
They were just laying out, just all for God to see, and everybody. They were just splued across the table.
K0SCH calls a timeout. We're gonna go to a commercial now. Oh Lord, have
we're gonna
mercy.
throw the flag.
Oh, jeez, they were hanging out. The images that are just flashing up are like, I'm going to need some therapy. But you know what? The one you were just showing us, and I know that for our listeners who are listening on the road this week, he's showing us a 2-pedal foot switch. Mm-hmm. And for the folks that are here, you can see this, I believe, Steve, is used for like people who are in the call centers, like dispatch centers for emergencies.
Dispatch centers, yeah. This is
so they can
the typical setup. That's it's very weighty. It's there's a lot of weight to this pedal here. There's a plate here on the bottom. Let me come back a little bit. So I just got the cord wrapped around, but there's 2 separate switches. So typically in a dispatch center, like a 911 center, they can key up 2 different radios. If one dispatcher is working, say, fire dispatch, the right pedal can be for fire dispatch. If they're doing police dispatch, then the left pedal can be for that. It's whatever the setup is. For myself, these 2 switches are just wired in parallel. So whichever switch I hit with my foot, then I'm keying up the radio. I could, get it to where I could have my left radio on the left switch, my right radio on the right switch, but that just simplified it.
Kind of like your shorts. You got your right Gordo on the right, left. Good God Almighty, Scotty, go! No, let's talk about it. See what happens now. Somebody goes and makes a gesture, and here we are. Steve, before we send it off to Scotty, who's really the imagery right now is really bad. Steve, talk about the advantages of push to talk, and we can do hand or foot. What do you think the advantages?
The typical, a lot of people they like to hold a hand microphone and then talk in that way. But when I'm operating, let's follow me. When I'm here at
look at here.
Fancy robot.
So when I'm here at my station, I want to have my hands on the keyboard and then because I'm either logging or doing something with the keyboard, then my foot is I just push the switch. So having to put a push to talk on as of a foot switch, it just frees up the hands. But it comes down to personal preference, and it gets a little you got to get a little bit of. Let's move the camera. And oops, the wrong way. Ooh, whoa, get back here, Steve. Sidecar.
Scotty, go!
There we go. Whoa. There we go.
Oh Lord! But our listeners are like, what is going on here?
Spilled my
We're
beer.
out of control tonight.
Sorry,
Oh,
Ed.
Ed. Oh my
Ed
God, you
spilled his
spilled your
beer.
beer. That's no.
That's a
That is
timeout.
truly
We'll take a
party
second
foul.
timeout.
Oh, that's too funny.
So it just frees up your hands to do whatever you want, scratch the Gordos or whatever. But
This one will not be going into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame. I can say that for sure. Oh my! But look,
so
somebody.
it just comes down to preference. So if you want to keep your hands occupied, use a hand microphone. If you want to keep your hands free, use a foot switch for your push to talk.
Let's
Ed,
Scotty
clean
can
up in aisle 5.
clean up and
Your beer. That's
Scotty is one of us who took this very seriously. So our friend Molly Belt, when I mentioned this to Scotty, Scotty was like, "On it, man! I want to talk about this, and we'll send it over to Scotty to give you some elementary, fundamental type insight." Check this out. Scotty's here.
Oh, Mike, what's
Show
up?
us more.
See, push to talk switches. Yeah, that's one of those things that's actually really easy to build. You can build one for yourself. It's literally how the circuit works. It's you're just taking a wire essentially and touching it together, and that's going to close the circuit that fires off the relay that switches your rig over to transmit. If you're looking for a push to talk switch, they are kind of expensive if you buy the commercial ones. I was looking on web, and it's $35-$40 for a handheld switch and $70 to $90 for a foot switch. But this is really something that's really easy to build, or you can repurpose some things that you already have around the shack. Let me change my camera view and show you a few things that I got here. So these are some things that I've used for push to talk switches. First one I made was just out of an old CB Uniden hand switch, and I just put a little 1/4-inch jack on the end of it, and kind of utilize that switch that's already there. And lately I've been using this old keyboard sustain pedal, electric keyboard. You can pick these up really cheap. You can get these new on Amazon for like $15. And it's literally plug and play. Plug that right into the push to talk. If you have an RCA connector for your push to talk, you can get one of these little adapters and 1/4-inch to RCA and let it rip. This is a push foot switch for a guitar pedal stuff. It's got a 1/4-inch jack on the back. I can just take a cable and plug it into my push to talk on the rig, right into the pedal, and there we go. And then if you're into the do-it-yourself stuff, you can actually make one really easy. Here's a cool one with PVC and a simple switch, and you can just drill a hole in the top, put your switch in there. And then whatever cable you're going to use, you only need 2 conductor cable to do this. And then, have yourself a little push to talk. A little 1/2-inch PVC piece of cake. And then the connectors, if you're going to be putting your own on, they're typically going to be RCA. And here's a blank RCA connector. Real easy to do. There's just 2 conductors in there, center pin, and then the shield. Or you can put a 1/4-inch plug on there if that's what your rig uses for push to talk. But I'm a big fan of repurposing things, and so I've been using the sustain pedal as my foot switch for push to talk. I was actually using this on Friday night when we were all on the air, having a good time. But it's a really simple project to build. It's fun. You can get creative. You can even take like one of those wedge-shaped door stoppers and drill a little hole, because they're usually kind of empty. They're just kind of hollow, like hard rubber. Drill a hole, put a switch in there, put it on the floor, and there you go. You want what's called a momentary switch for this application. Unless you like to talk a lot, then you can get a latching switch. You can kick it on and just leave it on, almost like a Mox function on your rig. But yeah, lots of cool, fun do-it-yourself stuff. Or you can repurpose some switches that you may, maybe your kid stopped playing the keyboard and he's got a sustain pedal for his little Casio, and then throw that sucker on your rig, and you got your floor push to talk. So
Cool.
fun stuff.
Cool. Thank you for that. Any thoughts on that, Steve?
Another little item here is they make these. The key is it's you can just stick bare wires into the end here, and then screw terminal if you don't know how to solder. And they come in various plug forms, but they make these in a RCA jack. So a lot of options out there to in case you don't know how to solder anything.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I got one that was sort of like the one Steve had, but it was a single. And there was an accordion. I bought one. It was kind of like the accordion foot switch for a piano or a keyboard. And there was a polarization swap that I had to do. It was actually something was reversed, and I had to switch the wires, and then it worked great for that. But the problem I had was it was so light that it was like the drummer without any carpet. You know, it's moving across the floor. And so the weight, and somebody mentioned in the chat, Ed said the sewing machine pedals. You know, that's kind of what this reminds me of. If you can get that wired up, it's got a little weight to it. It won't slide, or put a, rug. So some of the things are probably light. Guys like this, but I with the handheld, I'm doing the hand push to talk thing. For me, I think I needed both hands to type. I didn't really want to. I thought the foot switch was more for me. What else did we need to talk about, Steve, on that? I thank you for that suggestion too, talking about that. And if you have any questions, Maui, drop us a line, and Scotty can shoot you an idea, some bullet points on what you would need to do, or replay this back again, that kind of thing. But that was really nice. Thank you, Scotty. Steve, anything else we need to think about? Considerations, possible failure points, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, there's just sometimes the wiring gets frayed, and your push-to-talk switch doesn't push to talk anymore. So you got to troubleshoot that. Another option is using Vox. I'd be very, very careful about using Vox because if you don't have it set up properly, it'll pick up noise in the background. Or if you have Vox set up and then you get into an argument with your dog or cat that or spilled something, and you're cussing and swearing at the dog or cat, and you'll be going over the air. Or if you just happen to fall asleep in the chair and you start snoring, boop,
I've heard it.
You're all over the air. So that's another option is Vox. But I like to push to talk via the foot is my preference of choice. So it all comes down to what you're comfortable with and what you want to do. Someone mentioned the Heil foot switch, and there's his foot switch has two cables that come out. One that goes to the radio, and then another one that will plug into your amplifier. And so that's another way of if you have an amplifier, keying up your amplifier with the Heil foot switch. So there's options out there. So it just comes down to your operating preference.
It's Michael. Michael suggested that people have different names on TikTok, but it's Michael, Kilo India 5, United Tango Sierra. Thank you, Michael, for giving us the topic, and it was fun to explore that. I didn't make mine. I ended up getting mine from a commercial place, and again, the one was too light, and I pushed it around the floor too much, and then I wanted something sturdy in that line. So that's what I did. But, like Scotty said, you can make it out of things you got laying around, and PVC, all this sort of stuff. So there you go.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsinawire.com.